We all have a story. Your story is not my story, and my story is not yours. However, we can find joy, hope, and emotional healing even through our most painful moments in life. Let's walk and take this journey of healing together, one step at a time, because your story does not define you. Hey, God's beautiful people. It's Dr. Niesha here, and I want to say welcome back to Your Story Does Not Define You, the podcast, where we are bringing real life stories. We are talking about people's real life, real situations, and just talking about how even though life happens to us all, we still overcome it, and we could still be strong and resilient and get through things. And so I am really, really excited about this podcast. I'm excited about today's episode, particularly because this is one that definitely for sure has deep meaning. We are in the month of October, and October is not just October, but October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I have a special guest here today that is a beautiful soul, Miss Shalanda Layton. And she is a breast cancer survivor, and she has an amazing story that she's going to be sharing with us today. I met Shalanda a few years back, and when I say I just recently heard her story, I knew a little bit about her story, but I just recently heard her full story a few weeks ago. When I say she had me over there crying, just listening to her, and she's just amazing. Her story is so uplifting and so encouraging. And so, I really just want to provide this opportunity to have her here today and just really want her to shed some light to everybody about her journey and how she is a breast cancer survivor, and just wanted her to provide some encouragement to all the listeners out there, because again, remember, life happens to us all, and sometimes things happen when we least expect it, and we can either decide to get through it, or either we can let it take us over. But when we are resilient and we can be strong and trust God and get through it, then that's when we can share our testimony with somebody else. So what's your vibe today? As you all know, I always talk about what is your vibe, what is your mood, how did you wake up in the morning? Remember that you have the power to change your vibe every day. You don't have to wake up and accept defeat in the morning. You could change your vibe if you feel like, you know what, I'm just not feeling it today. Reshift that mind, reshift that focus, and change your vibe, because you can control your vibe. And so my vibe today has been... I'm a little tired today. I went to a wedding yesterday, had a busy day yesterday, and I didn't sleep the greatest last night. So I woke up a little tired this morning. So that's kind of like my vibe. My vibe is tired, doing things, getting prepared for the new week. So just a little tired this morning. But hey, I'm okay with being tired today because I was able to get all the things that I need to get done today. So I'll take that. I'll take tired as my vibe today. So look, y'all, we about to dive into this conversation with Miss Shalanda. And so I'm going to introduce her and let her tell you guys a little bit more about herself. But Miss Shalanda Layton is a mechanical engineer. She works for Chevron, and she is also the founder of Charmed and Chosen. And when I say Charmed and Chosen is out here in our community doing big things, they are making it happen. And so I am going to give her the opportunity to talk to you guys about what she does as a mechanical engineer, as well as what she does for Charmed and Chosen. So Miss Shalanda, thank you for being here today. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Of course, like you said, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I'm celebrating in a few days. I'll be celebrating my 53rd birthday, and yes. I'm also going to be celebrating 17 years cancer-free, cancer-free.
That's amazing.
So I'm just walking and feeling grateful.
Yes,
really,
I love
really
it.
Feeling grateful.
That is amazing. That is 17 years is a long time.
It is.
And that definitely, for sure, has been by the grace of God, yes. And I'm glad that you are on this journey, and I'm glad that you are open to sharing your story. So I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
Okay, so Miss Shalanda, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Well, as you mentioned, my name is Shalanda Layton. I am a mechanical engineer by degree. It wasn't an easy task, but I'm very proud of what I do and where I work. I worked at Chevron for the last 19 years.
Okay.
And they have made provision for me to find myself and be able to go out in the community, get paid on my job, and still go out and help the people in the community. And also it's allowed me to provide for my daughter. Yeah. I have a now 21-year-old daughter. Okay. And she's a senior now at UC Irvine. So I'm really grateful that I have had the opportunity to have the longevity. We've just recently gone through a huge layoff. Wow. Hundreds of people were laid off, but God is my source. Wow. He's my provider. Yes. He gave me the job 19 years ago, and he just keeps showing me that just be still, I have you. Yes. And so that's just how I live my life. That's just, I know that he's with me, and I'm just excited.
Yes, I'm excited with you too. So me and Shalanda, just to give y'all a little bit of background about Shalanda and this faith walk that she's on. So for some of y'all, I may have mentioned before in previous episodes that I am like a risk taker, and I'm like person that has faith, and I believe, trust God when it looks like the impossible. And let me tell y'all, Shalanda is walking proof of crazy faith, right? Yes. And she be out here speaking and manifesting, God be manifesting. I love it. It's beautiful.
When you said that, I am the queen of manifestation. Yes. When I was a little girl, my grandmother would teach Sunday school, and I would sit there with my dolls, and I would teach Sunday school to my dolls in the back while she would teach. So I just learned to just trust God, never to be envious or boastful, just be humble and just trust God in all things. Right. You mentioned that I'm a breast cancer overcomer. I call myself an overcomer. Yes. Not just a survivor. Survivor means you're starving and you're trying to, in my opinion, you're trying to make a way. That's right. But I have overcome many, many obstacles on my job, in my career. Yes. I'm in a male-dominated career. It's often difficult. Yes. As Black women, sometimes we feel like we have to prove ourselves. Right. And I just trust God. I go in there and I just say, I haven't survived here 19 years because I'm not wise. Right. I make good decisions as best as I can. And the first and foremost, I treat everybody the same. Yes. Whether you're a multimillionaire or a homeless person on the street. Right. I believe that God has given us all the same value. That's right. And that's just how I live my life. Yes. I love it. I absolutely love it, y'all. Because I'm going to tell you, Shalanda is a quiet storm. She real humble. And sometimes she likes to take the background. But when she gets the mic, y'all, let me tell you, she gets to preaching and encouraging people. And I love it. It's amazing. So, Miss Shalanda, let's dive into your journey about you becoming a breast cancer survivor and overcomer. Yes. So can you take us back to the moment when you found out that you had breast cancer? It's kind of bittersweet, just the concept of how it came about. I was a single mom. I had just moved back from Chicago. I had lived there for 15 years. And my daughter's dad and I just couldn't make it, and I decided to move back home. And I was down on my luck. A lot of things were going on. And I was just having a beautiful moment with my daughter. If you ever had a baby and I just tossed her up in the air, you toss your kids up in the air, you catch them. And she was just giggling, and she fell on my left breast. And she said, she was about 2.5, I would say. She said, Mommy, you have something hard right here. And I remember and I remember a pain just kind of came. Wow. And so the next day, this was on a Sunday, and the next day I went to work, and I made an appointment, and the rest is just unimaginable. Wow. I was actually just starting my career at Chevron. I had only been there about 6 months. And I was driving to Lost Hills, which is about 45 minutes, 45 minutes away. And I was going through this phase of, I was kind of having a little bit of mommy guilt. Okay. And I was having to leave my daughter. I had to be to work at 6 a.m. And so I was driving 45 minutes every day. So my village was taking her to daycare, and all these people had just surrounded me. And so I had drove there that day in my car. I didn't want to drive the van pool. Now, mind you, the whole week before I found out my results, I was crying every day. I was grateful for my job, but I just didn't enjoy driving every day, being away from my daughter. I knew some things were going on in my body, but I didn't quite know what. So I was getting ready to go in one of the first largest presentations of my career at that time. And one of the senior managers and I had been walking every day. And she said, Shalanda, because of your faith and your story, she said, I went and decided to get my mammogram. Wow. And so we met, I was getting ready to go into a meeting with her, and we met in the ladies' room. And she said, well, I'm so excited. She said, because my results were negative. And she said, I'm so grateful to you that you told me to go and take care of it and get my mammogram. And so I said, okay, I'll be in the meeting in just a moment. So I walked to my desk. It was about 7:28 in the morning. I remember it. And my phone rang at my desk, and it was the doctor. And it was such a cold moment. It was like, Miss Shalanda, and I said, yes. And the doctor said, are you sitting down? I said, no, I'm at work. I'm about to go into a meeting. I said, I'm about 45 minutes away. And he said, well, I'm sorry. You can't travel to Houston, because I was supposed to travel to Houston that week. He said, I'm so sorry that you can't travel to Houston. You have stage 3 cancer, and we need to do emergency surgery on you.
Wow.
So can you imagine going from being a mom, having a beautiful moment with your daughter, and then a physician that's so cold-hearted that gives you this news over the phone with no empathy. And so it was a very tough time. And so I didn't even know how to feel. I remember the same manager that I was having the meeting with, I got on my computer and I sent her a message. I said, I can't make the meeting. I need to go home. And she said, what's wrong? So she showed up to my door, and I told her, and she just looked at me. I couldn't cry. I didn't feel anything. I just felt numb in that moment. So she drove me back home and to my mom's house. And I said, I need you to go get Sarah from daycare, which is my daughter. And she said, why? I said, I just found out that I have stage 3B, and it has traveled into my lymph nodes, and it's just before it takes over my whole body. I said, all I need to see is my baby, and I know I'll be fine. And so in that moment, I had to dig deep. I couldn't cry. I couldn't feel anything, except once I saw my daughter's face, I knew it would be okay. I'm like, I can't leave this beautiful 2.5-year-old, almost 3, in the world by herself. So I knew I had to fight. I knew that God would be with me. I knew that my faith and my strength would come from him, and that's what I stood on the whole time. So people around me didn't quite understand me at that moment. Even the managers were like, you're so positive. I didn't even think twice about what I needed to do. I just knew that I was going to live. And one of my spiritual mothers, Tommy Hollis, I talked to her, and she gave me a CD, and it was a healing CD. And so just after my first round of chemo, my body turned completely green. Like literally green. Like I felt like the Grinch in my body. And I that evening I came home, and I put on my healing CD, and I said, Lord, I sat in the tub, and I felt like I was baptizing myself. And I said, Lord, you're my healer. If you want me to fight this thing, I need you to not make me sick. I need you to not make me this sick where I'm so weak. I'm so sick. And I feel in that moment, I knew I had to go through the process, but I felt healed. I never felt like people around me were, oh, you're going to buy a new house? You're going to do this? And I'm like, everybody around me was counting me out. And I'm like, Lord, I'm not leaving here. And so that's what I professed every day, and people didn't understand it. You're going to buy a house, and you just found out you had stage 3B. In my mind, I was just going on with life. It wasn't even a question of what I was going to do, because I said, Lord, I knew when I talked to him about it, I knew everything else was going to be fine. And that's how I got through it, my faith. And people are like, well, what if you don't have faith? Well, I had to look at the fact of my daughter needed me. My mother was older, and I didn't want to leave her in the world alone. And that's how I found out. And my first chemo, just really, I had to dig deep and just trust God with every part of my life. Not just the little things. I had to completely trust him with everything.
Yes. And now that's hard to do, because sometimes we hear people talk about faith, right? And we hear people say, just believe it and have faith. But sometimes we experience like an overwhelming amount of emotions and, people talking to us, like you said, saying negative things, and people counting you out. And so I heard you say that initially you just felt numb. You really didn't know how to feel. So was there ever a moment where when it just really sunk into you what the diagnosis said? Because sometimes the doctors give us a diagnosis and we don't actually receive it right in the moment, right? Mm-hmm. But when it actually sunk in, did you feel like your emotions shifted at some point?
I didn't shift until, I would say, almost 4.5 months into my treatment.
Okay.
So I endured about 8 months of treatment, chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, I opted to have a lumpectomy originally. Mm-hmm. And so the surgeon, she took out some extra tissue and she found a second layer of cancer in a different part of my breast. And so I opted to just have the breast removed because I didn't want to worry about ever having to go through this again.
Right.
And it was just kind of one of those moments where, okay, I just got to do what I got to do.
Right.
I even remember, I know my aunt probably will kill me for saying this, but I remember going into the operating room and my aunt said, I wish I could share mine with you. I said, no, thank you. Mm-hmm. I said, because these are trying to take me out and I don't want anybody else's foreign particles in my body. I just always had this, like you say, crazy faith. Mm-hmm. I want to say after the surgeries, I had to have 2 within 7 days because they found a second surgery. And I said, I'm not going through this again.
Wow.
And so I want to say maybe 4.5 months in, 3.5 to 4 months, I remember being home alone. And I sat in my bed and my body just felt weak.
Wow.
And I called my mom and she lived 2 doors over from me. And I said, Mom, I need you. And she's like, are you okay? You never called me for anything. And even though I was sick, I had bought my new home. I'm in my home, just me and my baby. And I was sitting in the bed and I felt so weak. I just felt like my body was just bubbling up. If you ever felt bloated, it just felt like my whole body felt bloated, like I was having an out-of-body experience. And it's just like it just bubbled up. As soon as my mom came in, I just held her and I just burst into tears for the first time.
Wow.
And my mom broke down and she said, you've been so strong for 4.5 months. I've watched you just be happy and just give God thanks in everything.
Right.
And this particular moment, it was like, I just need to cry.
Yeah.
And it just overtook me.
Yeah.
And I never cried anymore after that.
Wow. So would you say that was like a release for you?
It was my release. Like I'm halfway there.
Okay.
I have to do what I have to do. I'm still here. And all the time, other people around me are finding out they have breast cancer.
Wow.
So not only am I taking my treatments, I'm going and talking to other women who just want to give up on life.
Wow.
They're saying they're not having those surgeries.
Right.
They're not taking any of these treatments. They rather leave their husbands and their kids behind.
Wow.
And I'm just using my faith to share my story and say, no, you have so much more to live for.
Wow, I love
and
that.
so I just became a beacon of hope for others, even while I was going through.
Yes.
Even my coworkers were like, how are you doing this? I mean, I just listened to my scriptures, and Pastor Martha Johnson gave me a CD, and it was about Thanksgiving. And she talked about being thankful for all things, not just the good things, but be thankful that God is going to bring you through.
Yes.
So I never doubted that God was going to bring me through. I continued my life like normal.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't see it any other way.
Wow.
I didn't see it. Leaving here wasn't an option.
Yeah. No, I love that because, again, I think that sometimes when people are given like a terminal diagnosis, that it could go either way. People sometimes succumb to those things and then they just go, negative. And then you find that those people go downhill a little bit faster versus people that get terminal diagnosis and they are a little bit more positive and more hopeful and they continue to live, right? And so you talk about you kind of turned into a beacon of hope and a beacon of light to other women that were going through the same thing that you were going through. During your journey, did you ever have any moments that you felt like it was a little bit overwhelming and that you maybe wanted to give up? Or do you feel like you just stayed the course the whole time?
To be honest, I never thought I was leaving. That's why I think people thought I was a unicorn, even today, because I can find the happiness in anything. I'm one of those glasses half full people. And so I made a conscious decision And I told my mother when I was going through it, I said, I don't want any negative people around me. I chose to segregate myself from anything negative. I didn't watch much TV. I just, anything negative, I don't want to have any part of it. Because I believe energy is real.
Yes.
And I'm giving out positive energy to other people that are going through what they're going through.
Right.
I'm going through what I'm going through. So I can't afford
right
for any negative people to be in my space. So I didn't allow people to come over unless they were positive, including my family. If you're going to be sad, I'm not sad. I'm just going through this is part of my journey. I'm just going through what I'm going through. So I think that's what helped me. I found things that made me feel good, even though I felt sick in my body sometimes. I didn't feel the sickness that I felt in the very first treatment. But I found things that I love, cold things. I crave cold things. And so when people would say, how are you getting through it? I'm sick. I can't eat. I just asked God to just give me the taste because you don't want to eat. And so my doctor's like, you're a miracle. And I said, why do you say that? He said, you gaining weight on cancer. Stage 3B. Like a lot of people would have left. And he said, you're my miracle. He said, your energy is just so strong. And I just ate everything because that's what heals your body. Eating healthy things. And I just absorbed all the positivity I can, and I guess it just stayed in my body because it's just who I am. It's just ingrained in me.
Wow, I love it. And it just provided that healing and support for yourself. I had a guest on here a few episodes ago, and she shared her story of how she overcome a terminal illness that she got down to like 80 pounds, I think. And she said the same thing that you said about she kind of like not let people in that were not positive, that were not speaking life over her. And it wasn't to be mean, but it was just that this is a crucial time in my life and I don't have time for negative energy because any negative thought can creep in and that could change, the trajectory of the thought process, right? So she shared the same thing, and just hearing that again to me is a true testament that really when people are going through something, sometimes you have to be really selective about who you can share information with and who you can let in your life. And sometimes we just have to, keep people out. It doesn't mean that we're being rude or, mean or anything like that. But again, you have to protect your peace and you have to protect the space that you're in. You talk a lot about your mom and your mom being a support system for you. Was there anybody else that you considered to be like a support, or anybody that you had that was instrumental, or anybody you wish you had?
Other than my mom, I would say I was really, really fortunate to have other people in my life. I had a friend of mine who I had not been dating very long, maybe about 3 months or so. And he was a really, really big part of my support system. When I was going through, the nurse that was seeing me, she said I was really fortunate because a lot of times, even when somebody's married, their spouses will leave them because it's such a hard process to go through. It's hard on the family. It's hard on the caregiver. And so I was really fortunate to have someone that made sure that my daughter Sarah and I had everything that we needed. I always got that confirmation that I was still beautiful, no matter what my body had gone through. I was still beautiful, and that was a big part, right? Because you're losing your hair, you're going through these surgeries, and so it was a really big part of me making sure that I felt whole, and that was big, because you're going through so much. So I really am appreciative that I had not only my mom, I had this person in my life, and I also had my Chevron family was really instrumental. They brought food, they brought my daughter gifts. I mean, they did everything they could to make sure that I was able to heal and not worry about work. So it really made sure, making sure that I had financial support, mental and emotional support was huge for me.
Right. And yes, I agree with you that makes such a huge difference and with the support. And I love how you talk about, you being able to be that support and that light of hope for other people. And I think that's just so amazing, because again, like you mentioned, some people in relationships, they can't handle when their loved one is going through sickness. And sometimes people do walk out and, it's a sad case, but just being able to have those support systems in your life means so much. So I'm glad that you offer that support to so many, even in the midst of what you were going through. Now, when it comes to awareness and advocacy, Shalanda, what do you wish more people understood about breast cancer?
That is not a death sentence. I really believe that, from a spiritual standpoint, I feel like God has the last say.
Yes.
And you have what you say and what you speak.
Right.
I always professed life, not death. Even when people around me were saying, "Oh, you're going to still buy a house? You just got diagnosed with stage 3B, And I'm like, I'm planning on living. I'm not planning on leaving here.
Right.
And so I really took time to, focus on that. And I made sure that I only had positive people around me. I asked my mom to make sure that she kept anything negative away from me. I didn't take phone calls when people would call and they would be negative. And you know how your friends and your girlfriends want to call you and tell you all their problems. And I was like, I'm fighting for my life.
Right.
I'm sorry you're going through what you're going through, but I need positive energy in my space.
Right.
And so I really just spent time, at home with my family and those that needed to be around me at the time. And I only allowed for positive energy around me.
Right. Which makes sense, again, because, I think that sometimes when people are going through illness or sickness, that sometimes people don't understand the impact of like mindset and the impact of what you speak over your life and what you speak into your situation. And I think that's something that's so important. So I love to hear you say how you kind of focused on speaking life over yourself. And so being an overcomer, because we determined that you're not a survivor, you're now an overcomer. So yes. Being an overcomer, Shalanda, how has breast cancer changed your outlook on life or just with your relationships with people in general?
For me, I've learned not to sweat the small things. I mean, a lot of times, and to forgive. You go through a lot of things in your life and you hold on to things. And I just adopted that positivity. And I had to go through a lot of soul searching during my journey. And, just really forgiveness was a big part of it, right? Sometimes you're harboring ill feelings in your heart and, just having people around you and friendships, people that you thought would be there for you weren't.
Right.
And it's really weird because people have their own perception of how they supported you.
Right.
I had people say, I was there for you when you were sick. And I'm thinking, I might have saw you twice. But, everybody wants to feel like they were a part of your support system, but your level of support and their level of support may be different.
Right.
And so, I just learned to give people grace and let them feel how they feel. And I am a very direct person. So I would, if somebody hurt me or said something that I didn't care for, I would just be direct and tell them. And a lot of times people can't understand that. Just because that's how I feel, you don't have to receive it.
Right.
I'm just letting you know what you said or what you done or your support or lack of support, how it affected me.
Right.
And so I just learned that, I want people to be direct with me. So if I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry.
Right.
That wasn't my intent, but I just need people around me that are loving on me and being positive and encouraging me and not being negative.
Right. No, that is so true. I totally agree. And so with the relationship, Shalanda, and how you mentioned about some people kind of like were really there and present for you, and then some people, stated that they were there for you, but really weren't. Do you feel like there was people that you had to dismiss out of your life, or do you feel like there were other people that you welcomed and are now a part of your intimate circle right now?
Unfortunately, some of my closest friends that did support me back then were no longer friends. And it originally it made me sad because you were with me at some of the hardest times in my life. And as you grow and God takes you in a certain direction, I've come to learn that everybody can't go.
Right.
because I'm a natural giver and a lover and a nurturer, I want to take everybody.
Right.
And, in certain seasons of your life, I believe I was raised to believe that people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Right, absolutely.
And so sometimes it makes me sad that some of those folks aren't there, but then I feel like God replaced them with people that are still around.
Right, right. Okay, that's awesome. I think it's very valuable to have people in your life that are supportive and that mean a lot. And one of the things that I've kind of learned just in my life journey is that, as we get older and we grow in grace and grow in God and, learn from just life experiences that, sometimes our intimate circles become small, right?
Yes.
And sometimes where we may have had more people that we would allow in, I think that we are more protective about what our intimate circle looks like. Because again, like I often hear like at church, our pastor always says, you can't let everybody on the front seat of your theater. Some people have to sit in the balcony and,
Yes.
It's no disrespect and it's not a mean thing. But again, when you experience life and you're going through life, you need people in your life that are non-judgmental, that are supportive, and that will love you through the good and the bad. So I do feel like that's so important. And so I just want to kind of like reflect on just with your journey and all the things that you have overcome. You talked a bit ago about forgiveness, and I just wanted you to kind of like touch on that a little bit when you talk about your healing journey. Sometimes people don't know that forgiveness is a part of your healing journey, whether it's from traumatic things or whether you've experienced some type of terminal illness. So can you just touch on what forgiveness meant to you in regards to your healing?
I mean, forgiveness is meant for you.
Right.
It's not necessarily for other people. I've always been a firm believer that if I don't forgive, I'm blocking my blessings.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it now, my daughter's dad, he wasn't in her life when she was young, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I prayed and I went through this emotional journey with myself and just building my relationship with God. And I had written down 50 things that I was believing God for, not only for my healing, but for my daughter to be whole and for my finances and other things that I was just believing God for. And my daughter had the opportunity to meet her dad, and unfortunately, he was murdered by his girlfriend.
Wow.
And so in order for me to learn that huge amount of forgiveness, I had to go to 5 a.m. prayer while I was on this spiritual journey. And I had to just fall on my knees and call her name out and forgive her. It was probably one of the hardest things in my life that I had to do.
Right.
But I felt like if I didn't do it, I was going to block the blessings of my daughter, her siblings, and my family in general, and I just couldn't afford that. It's okay to forgive because that's for you.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you forget it, but you have to find it within yourself, because I knew this journey that God had me on, I couldn't have any malicious feelings, any malice in my heart, because your heart has to line up with the word of God in order for the blessings to flow.
Yeah.
So it was difficult for me, but I was able to do it. And the people that I thought would be there that weren't, I had to forgive them too. And say, it's okay. Maybe they don't have the capacity to love and support me the way that I need it. And that's okay too, because I believe that, like I said before, people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And it hurts because sometimes God will remove people from your life that you absolutely love and adore.
Right.
But, sometimes you just have to be okay with it and love them from afar, and I've had people that, I see them and I still show them grace. I'll hug them but I just choose not to have them in my day-to-day interactions.
Yeah. And I think that's perfectly fine. I think that when you talk about that to me, that kind of speaks to like boundaries, that, sometimes we set boundaries and, forgiveness, like you mentioned, is for us. And in that process of forgiving, it doesn't mean that we are going to forget. But we sometimes remember, right? We're going to remember, but when we are healthy and when we are healing, we can set boundaries, meaning that, like you said, we can love the people, but we love them from afar, right? And sometimes, people think that you have to dismiss people out of your life, but you necessarily don't, because as the Bible commands us to love, right? So we have to love everybody. But again, it's okay for us to set these boundaries. So I love how you touched on that forgiveness piece. So Shalanda, how do you now care for your health today, physically and emotionally? Like, what are some of the things that you do today that you incorporate that health physically and emotionally?
Excuse me. I'm really big on protecting my peace. I really try hard to be around people that speak positivity. Even within my family and my household with my husband and my baby. I ask them, I reinforce to them, we have to use positive words in every aspect of our life.
Right.
I have family members who have illnesses, diabetes, and other things. And I'm constantly telling them, speak life to your body.
Right.
When I was going through, I would confess, I'm healed and healthy and whole.
Right.
Even though my skin was turning green and my body was physically weak, I still spoke life to my body, and I think that's what helped me to get through it.
Right.
But you have so many people that say, my sickness, my this, my that. You're owning that thing.
Right, right.
And I believe in the power of words, positive words, encouraging words to yourself. Don't look at what you feel in the natural. You have to move to a supernatural state in order to be able to achieve the healing that you desire.
Right. I totally agree with you. And I love how you said that about just continuing to speak life and to speak positivity. It just reminded me of Proverbs 18:21 that tells us that, life and death are in the power of the tongue. And, even as a therapist, a lot of times I try to teach people how to incorporate positive self-talk in their lives, because again, I think that people don't understand how impactful that it could be when we can speak life over ourselves, right? Because it's easy to focus on the negative, and it's easy to look at the bad or what the worst case scenario could be. And sometimes it's hard for us to find that positive aspect of things. So I like how you reiterated talking about the positive and speaking life over yourself.
I always say what you focus on becomes your reality.
Right.
I always use the example like when you were a little kid and you were playing yellow car or slug bug, and you would be so intently just focused on, I'm going to see a bug, or I'm going to see that yellow car, that they would just come, right? They would just start coming out the woodwork. You might see 50 yellow cars in a 5-mile trip.
Right.
Whereas on a normal day, you wouldn't see any, but you're manifesting it because you're thinking about that thing so hard, so intently. I tell people, when you're looking at your faith, you have to grab a hold of your faith like your life depends on it. That's where that mustard seed faith, that the Bible says you have to have the faith of the grain of a mustard seed. And a mustard seed is smaller than a tip of a pencil.
Right.
And you have more faith in your job, for example, than you have in God. You expecting your paycheck to come every 2 weeks, but you're not expecting God to heal you.
Right. That's true.
I'm like, you got things backwards. We have to think about life. And again, when people ask me to pray over them, I ask them, what do you truly want? Do you really believe this? I believe that we have to be in agreement, because sometimes we plan for something for them that they don't desire.
Right. That's true. It's true. So true.
So I'm like, your heart and your mind and everything about you have to line up with the word of God, and you have to truly believe with every fiber of your being that you're going to be here. When I got that diagnosis, I had no thought in my mind that I was leaving this earth. It wasn't even a possibility.
Wow.
So that's why I open my heart and share my story, because I want some woman, some man, whoever needs that encouragement to know that God is still healing in 2025. He healed back then, and he's still a healer. It wasn't something in the Old Testament. He's still doing it. I'm a walking, living, breathing testimony that God will do it. But you have to believe it. You have to confess it daily. And you have to speak life, not death. death over yourself.
Yes, I am 100% in agreement with you. I mean, I believe the word of God. The word of God is powerful. And the Bible talks about that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimonies. And just like you said, okay, God is the same God that he was back in the Bible days. And he was healing people back then. And he's still healing people today. And, I really love how testimonies can really reveal who God is, right? Because I think that sometimes when people experience like life circumstances or they experience like terminal illnesses, people that once believe in God sometimes get discouraged because they feel like God has left them or they feel like God doesn't love them anymore. And then you have those people that don't even know God, or either they feel like I don't believe in God or whatever the case may be. But when you have your own personal encounter with God and you see how he works things out in your life, like when you hear somebody else's testimony, it just like empowers you to just want to give him a try and to see what he can do.
Absolutely. And I try to remind people, and this is just my belief, I believe that the devil puts sickness on you for whatever reason. But you have to have that faith that God is the one that's going to bring you out of it.
Right, absolutely.
He's the one. You have to trust it no matter what it is.
Right.
He's going to bring you through. So sometimes it might be difficult.
Right.
But you just have to find that little bit, that little mustard seed faith that says, you know what?
Yes.
Lord, I don't understand everything that's happening to me. But I'm going to thank you that I know you're going to bring me out. And that's what really helped me. Right. Pastor Martha Johnson had given me a CD when I was sick. And I would listen to that CD every day. And it was a Thanksgiving sermon she spoke. And she talked about thanking God for the good and the bad. You're not thanking him for the bad, but you're thanking him that he's going to bring you through.
Yes.
And I just internalized that thing. And I said, Lord, there's no way I'm leaving this earth. I have so much more to do. And when I see how God just continues to show out in my life and every aspect of my life, I just continue to walk every day in gratefulness.
Right.
I mean, I just listened to my favorite song by C.C. Winans and talking about the goodness of God. And it just makes me want to cry uncontrollable because I say, Lord, you chose me. You chose little old me to be a vessel. It's not about me. All the things that I do in the community, all the love that I share, all the giving that I do, it's not about me. I want the world to see God through me. I had my old supervisor say, Shalanda, you went through cancer, you went through all these things, and you still happy. They call me a unicorn sometimes. I said, because you don't understand, God wakes me up every day.
Yes.
At 3 a.m., and I just thank him and praise him. You get up at 3 every day? I said, yes.
Wow.
He wakes me up. He speaks to me. He tells me what to do.
Wow.
And I'm obedient. Sometimes, people don't understand. You just have to be obedient to God's word, and he will never fail you.
Yes, that is so true. That obedience is a big thing. And, just like thinking of like God, like he's love, and I know sometimes people experience things and they feel like God has left them, but he doesn't leave you, he doesn't leave you nor forsake you. And trusting in his word and having that faith as a mustard seed and being obedient is all a part of it, right? It's all a part of this. And I know that, people have their different opinions and I respect other people's opinions, but I'm just saying, I wholeheartedly believe in God and I believe in his power. And I know what you're saying is true. That if we just have that faith, the grain of a mustard seed, and just believe, that's what he moves on. He honors to see us call his word out and say, Lord, you said in your word that with your stripes I'm healed. He likes to hear us encourage it. Lord, you said in your word that I shall live and not die and declare the works of the Lord. And so those are things that we have to speak again, because I think that the enemy tries to trick us, especially when we receive some type of illness or terminal diagnosis, that we just feel like, okay, it's going to be the end of the world. But we can do a whole lot with our faith. And even if sometimes God doesn't show up in the way that we want him to show up, it doesn't mean that he's not still faithful.
I think that's a huge piece. My pastor a few weeks ago, he talked about giving and just sowing seeds into good ground. And he was talking about how it was easy to give away things that we don't want. And then he said, well, what about giving away something that you love?
Mm-hmm.
And most people would cringe, right? I got to give up this thing that I absolutely love.
Right.
And
that I worked hard for.
I worked hard for this. And he was talking about giving. And I'm a natural giver, right? So things, I like nice things, but they don't consume me.
Right.
I can have it. Material things don't consume me. I like nice things, but I'm okay if I have it or I don't.
Right.
And so I had a designer bag that I had sitting on the seat. And there was a lady sitting next to me. And you know, sometimes when your husband adores you, he just kind of rubs his arm across you to let you know, I see you, you know, get that like adornment. She touched the bag in that way. So I just kind of looked at her and she said, you know, it's been my dream since I was 18 years old to have something like this.
Wow.
She said, but I've never been able to have something like this or be able to afford it. And God said, give her yours.
Wow.
And I said, okay, Lord. So I had a little book in my hand, and I handed it to her. I said, give me your phone number and your contact information. I want to invite you to an event that I have coming up. And she said, oh, okay. Now, mind you, this is recently, and I was about to find out if I was still going to have a job. The company I've been working for 19 years is getting ready to do a massive layoff. So I was like, okay, Lord, what am I going to do? You know, this is the 6th time in 8 years. And, you know, I don't know where I'm going to wind up.
Right.
And so when she gave me the book back, I opened it up. Now, 19 years ago, when God gave me the job that I have now with Chevron, I've been there 19 years. And I sold my last $50.
Wow.
Being obedient to God. And he said, I was like, okay. So when I opened up the book, she had put a $50 bill in it. And I was just shocked. Like, I said, well, why did you put the $50 in? She said, because God told me to.
Wow.
And God said, I wanted to remind you to be still.
Wow.
Because I was getting a little anxious, you know, and I was going to raise my hand and voluntarily quit. And just take the severance package. And he said, no, be still. I need you to know that I'm still here.
Yes.
Your time here is not up.
Right.
And my whole body just got weak because it was like, I was overwhelmed, like, wow, like, God, you healed me. You still healing me. You still providing. You still, everything I've ever asked you for, you still doing it. And so when your faith wavers, even though sometimes, you know, the devil creeps in, God has a way of reminding you when you're obedient to him. He'll make it so plain to you the why.
Right. That's true.
And in that moment, I was blessed and she was blessed. I didn't have a chance to give her the bag that day because I had so much junk in it and I couldn't give it to her. So I waited. I tried to get in touch with her that week and I couldn't. So the following Sunday, I boxed it back up in the box that it came in, all the paperwork. And I had a gentleman sit on her seat, and on the top of it, I wrote "Gift from God."
Wow. I love that.
And she was so overwhelmed. She said, you don't know what this did for me.
Wow.
She said, I've been continuously cultivating my relationship with God and increasing my faith. And you showed me in your obedience how my obedience, God just brought everything to you and to me full circle. And she was just overwhelmed with happiness.
Yes,
she cried and I cried and we just hugged. And I said, it's not about this bag. It's about our obedience. God will give us the desires of our heart.
Yes. That's what the word says. And I mean, again, that is just like so amazing. Like, I feel like you said, when we sow seeds we reap, right? We reap it. The reaping that we get, it may not look like what we want it to look. We never know, right?
Yes.
But God,
it could be healing.
Yes, it could be healing.
It could be money. It could be something for your family. A lot of people get it mixed up.
Right.
I think they always think it's financial. But I've seen God show up in my health, in my relationships, with my family, with my husband, everything, my kids.
Right.
You know, he has a way of bringing it back to you in forms, in ways that you wouldn't even think of.
Right. And I'm glad you say that, because I think that people do have the misconception that when you give, that you have to give money and you're going to get back money. But you can give of your time, you can give of your words, you can give of your service, you know, as long as you're giving from a cheerful heart. And God will return that back to you. And I think just even with on your healing journey, you having the mindset to speak life and to speak hope into other people that were going through your same experience, that was also a way of you giving too, right? And you giving even in the midst of your own situation. Look how God continued to provide for you. And so even financially, like there's been many a times where I've sold an offering in church and I wrote on my check, healing or faith, whatever the case may be, I'll name my seed and I'll sow it and God reaps, and I've seen him do it too. I really feel like it depends on where your heart is, your heart posture, right? Where is your heart posture when you give? You could give 5 cents and God can bless you with so much more if your heart was just in a space, in a posture of giving. And I've seen it happen myself. Like I remember one time I was at church, and I'm a giver as well. And I love to give and I love to support when I can. And I remember one Sunday I went to church and I really wanted to give an offering. And I only had some change in my wallet, and that's really all I had, for real. And I was like, okay, Lord, I normally give, and this is all I have. So something came to me, just give your change. And I got an offering envelope. I put my change in that offering envelope, and I walked around the offering plate and gave my offering like I was giving $1 million. And when I tell you, before church, by the time church was over, somebody came to me that same day and gave me $500. And they told me that the Lord told them to give me that money.
That's beautiful.
And when I say, I was like, look at God, right? I didn't expect that. And I just gave my little offering. I didn't even write my name on the envelope because I was embarrassed. But I still gave it because I wanted to give. And look how God blessed. And, and that's just a financial, testimony. But God has even showed up many times in my life, in your life, just giving,
Yes. And I just do it without thinking. And sometimes people aren't even worthy of it. But I say it's not for me to decide.
Right.
If God tells me to do it, that's what I'm going to do. And I feel like God does that. If it's the devil, he's not going to tell you to give something to make somebody happy.
Right.
So I know it's God. When he tells me to do something, I don't even hesitate.
Right. That's true.
Because I know it's him.
Right. You just got to move in that faith.
You have to move in faith. You have to move in faith.
I love it. Look, y'all, our conversation, we is just talking because I feel like all of this collectively comes together when we talk about healing and trying to overcome situations. And so, Shalanda, when we think about just kind of like some advice and just some reflection on your own personal journey to becoming a overcomer of breast cancer, what advice would you give someone who has just been diagnosed?
I would say surround yourself with people who have positive mindsets, who are prayer warriors, who speak life and not death. And if there's anybody out there under the sound of my voice, when they hear this, reach out to me. If you just need somebody to come and hold your hand, go to a treatment with you, just talk you through it and share some of the things that I've gone through.
Right.
I'm an open book. I feel like the best therapy is talking to somebody that's been through what you've been through.
Yes,
I agree. Most of the time it's fear, right?
Right.
And God doesn't give us the spirit of fear.
Right.
So I tell people, call me.
Right.
I'm here because fear will kick in and then your brain starts going, you start believing that fear takes over you and it starts to consume you.
Right.
So surround yourself with peaceful things.
Right.
I love the water. Go sit by the water.
Right.
Do things that actually make you feel good.
Right.
Eat better. I really focused on eating. My doctor said, you're my miracle girl. You actually gained weight while you were battling cancer because I just ate. I just forced myself to eat things that made me feel good.
Right.
I ate cold things, whatever it was, because you don't really have taste buds and other things. I just immerse myself with good food and things that I knew were going to make me feel better.
Good. I love that. I love that advice. And I agree with you on that as well. One of the things that I feel like is so profound in people's life is doing things that bring you joy. I tell people when I do therapy, find little pockets of joy. That's what I call it, pockets of joy. And it can be the simplest things. Like you said, sitting by the water. I love listening to the water too. And it's just so peaceful just to be able to sit there and listen to the calm and just kind of like put your mind in a space of peace. So I agree with you, just doing the little things that people don't think is meaningful, but those are the things that are really meaningful. So
I just thought of something too. The one thing I forgot to say is it's okay to ask for help.
Yes.
I think a lot of times we want to go through what we want to go through in private.
Right.
Some people might have different emotions. They may be embarrassed, or they may, don't want people to see them. But it's okay to allow people to help us. I still struggle with that sometimes because I'm just so naturally independent and used to doing things for myself. I had to learn to be okay with other people helping me when I was not with them.
Right.
And that's the hardest thing to do. You're inviting people into your home, inviting people into your space, and you have to protect your peace. But it's okay to ask for help and not feel like you're being a burden to anyone. And I was so grateful to my mom because she said, you had no idea that I would go home and cry. She said, because I couldn't do anything. You're my firstborn, and there was nothing I could do to make you feel better.
Wow.
I said, but sometimes just her sitting with me and holding my hand or taking my daughter out for a little bit was like $1 million. It was worth everything, just having that support system. And it's okay. And if you're out there and you don't have a support system, I will be there to support you in any way I can. I'm extending my hand because I know people that are going through it right now. If I can say one thing that would help them, give them a smile, being around people that smile and are happy and not sad. Because that goes into your spirit. When you're sitting there, and everybody's talking sad and looking sad, that rubs off on you.
Right. That's true.
And you don't want that. You don't want that when you're going through. You want positivity.
Yes, absolutely. And I love how you are just so willing to be that positivity and that support for other people, because what you said is absolutely true. People sometimes don't reach out for help for lots of reasons, right? Like you said, they might feel like they're burdened. Sometimes pride kicks in and, people feel like, okay, they want to figure it out on their own. But anytime that life is lifing and we're experiencing something, just having somebody in your corner, and sometimes just somebody to just be there and just be in your presence does a world of good. Even if you're not even, talking, it's just having somebody in your presence and feeling safe. And that's something that we need as human beings, is that we have to feel safe. It's a part of our biological makeup, and safety is one of those things that are one of the most important things. So I love how you are so willingly, to support other people and put yourself out there to support people. So one last question, Shalanda, and then I want you to kind of talk a little bit about your organization, because I know your organization is in the middle of a project, and I want you to kind of share with that, because there are podcast listeners all over the world that listen to this podcast, and I want you to kind of talk about your project, and then also talk about how people can support the project. But one last question I just want to ask you. What does Breast Cancer Awareness Month mean to you now after you've been through this journey?
I would say get screened.
Okay.
Take it as time to be healthier. Remind yourself of the positive things in your life, and just trying to, even for myself, just eating better. Making healthier choices, living stress-free. It's a time for us to give thanks and pay homage to those we've lost and those who have overcome, because men and women are affected by this. So it's a time for us to celebrate life in a way, and just remind ourselves that getting screened can save your life. And a lot of times, I'm going to say in the African American community, we often don't want to go to the doctor. We don't want to know. And so true. Whether it's in Breast Cancer Awareness Month, take time to have your mammograms. People might say, oh, it hurts to do it, but it's going to hurt your family even more to lose you.
Yes, that is so true.
But just take time to, get your body checked, and just spread positivity. Because good energy goes out. There's people out there that you don't know that need that positive energy. So just eating well and positive energy.
Yes, that's true. I agree with you. A positive energy does definitely go a long way. Even a smile. People think a smile is nothing, but It takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile. And so I tell people you might as well smile, because you don't know how you can change and shift an atmosphere, or shift somebody's day just with a simple smile and being positive. So I love that. Y'all, we have to get
one
screened.
last thing, too, I would say resilience.
Yes.
It's the month to celebrate resilience. I took a picture a couple years ago, and I wanted to be wrapped as a breast cancer ribbon.
Wow.
Because I wanted other people to see it and say there's life after.
Yes, I love that.
But there's life after breast cancer. You can overcome it. You can still thrive. You can still do everything to your fullest potential. God's not through with you yet if you just believe that that you are healed.
Right. That's true. I love that. And you being aware and getting screened is like the first step, right? Because if you know that you have it, early detection is one of the things that they say is important, because you can tackle it. And like you mentioned, breast cancer is, a lot of people are surviving from breast cancer versus how it used to be a long time ago. And so you have to want to be aware, and you have to want to do what you have to do to be able to put yourself in a position to survive. This is just so good. Such a good conversation. So Shalanda, as I mentioned earlier, you are the CEO and founder of Charmed and Chosen with your co-founder, Lashaka Pleasant Davis. And I would like for you to talk about your organization. If you could just tell people a little bit about what you guys do, and then also talk about your project that you guys are in the middle of, and how people can support you if they wanted to give a donation.
Well, Lashaka and I started Charmed and Chosen during the pandemic. I had a high school age daughter. She had a high school age son. And as you know, the youth and families in general were going through mental health challenges and other things. So we we decided to have a movie night. We had kids screen. We invited some of our kids' friends, and we hosted a movie night in Lashaka's backyard. And we just gave the kids an anonymous survey. And a lot of them were in high school. We asked them what their biggest concerns were in life, and 90% of them said they were afraid to grow up. They didn't know how to take care of themselves. How are they going to get a job? They were mentally and emotionally not well. And so that's how Lashaka and I formed our mission, that we were going to go out and we were going to provide them with financial literacy, workforce and college readiness. I'm an engineer, so we're doing introduction to STEM and supporting them with mental health. And so we have lots of kids that come to our program each week. We have kids as young as 10 and as old as 19, because some of them have transitioned over into high school. And so some of them come and we treat them like family. We know who they are. They come, they look forward to it. But some of the kids just don't always have transportation. So a person in the community donated a bus to us, and the bus needs a few repairs. It's great. It's a beautiful bus, but it needs some repairs and some other things. So we're fundraising for that. We're about $5,000 short. So we're believing God either for the $5,000 or a brand new bus if somebody has it on their heart to donate a new bus. We'll take that too. Our dream is to be able to not only provide transportation for the kids, but there's so many youth in underserved communities that don't have access to these things. The families don't have access. So we would love to be able to take this mobile unit and take these services to the people.
I love it.
So that they can learn and we can build the whole family up. So we're excited about that. We have a Zelle account where anybody wants to Zelle us any amount. It's charm.chosen2020@gmail is our Zelle account, or we can be reached by phone 661-817-6279. We can take a credit card payment, but we are just taking donations in any format that we can. We just want to serve our community and just develop the whole family as a whole. And so that's part of our mission, is just to get out to the streets with this mobile unit and just serve more families as often as we can.
Yes, I absolutely love that. And for all of you guys that are listening to this podcast right now, they are doing amazing things in our community with our youth, and they are opening up doors and new opportunities for these youth that don't have and would probably never experience some of the things that they experience if it wasn't for Charmed and Chosen. And so if you want to donate, I encourage you to donate to this organization. We talked about sowing seeds earlier. This organization is good ground. I'm going to put their information into the description of the podcast so that that way. If you want to reach out and support, please do so. We would love for you to support this organization because they're not even scratching the surface yet, and they're already doing amazing things, and there's so many more amazing things to come. So I'm just so excited about having Shalanda here today. And Miss Shalanda, I just want to say thank you so much again for gracing us with your presence today. It's been such an honor to have you here today. And just for sharing, taking the time for sharing such a deeply personal and powerful story. And I thank you for being so transparent and just having the heart that you have for people and the heart that you have for women and the heart that you have to help people. You know, your strength just reminds me that awareness about breast cancer is just more than what we think it is, right? You know, a lot of people think about Breast Cancer Awareness Month and they think about the ribbons and they think about wearing pink and things like that in honor of that. But it means so much more. There's so many lives and so many things attached to that. And it's really about real people with real battles and, you know, the real need for early detection, support, and research. So I appreciate your voice and I appreciate your testimony and sharing with us today.
And Niesha, I'll just say this one last thing. If there's somebody out there that just needs to talk in person, we do have an office. Charmed and Chosen has an office at 1400 Easton, suite number 128 here in Bakersfield. So you can call us at 661-817-6279. You can set an appointment. I would love to come and sit with you, talk to you, help you in any way I can. Our hearts are open for breast cancer patients. Our hearts are open to the community. Whatever way that we can serve, we're here to help.
Yes, and they truly mean that. And they don't just help youth, they also help their parents too, because we know that it takes a village, right? And we need the parent involved too to help support the youth. So you guys, that's Bakersfield, California. You know, check them out. Call their office, get connected with Charmed and Chosen, because again, they're doing amazing things. And so I just want to lastly say, if someone out there, or if you or someone you love is facing breast cancer, or you're in the middle of fighting breast cancer, please know that you're not alone. There are so many resources available and stories just like Miss Shalanda's that can give you hope and just let you know that any and everything is possible. There's Links for Life. There are some other organizations out there, but just know that there is resources out there. Okay. And so again, don't forget to share this episode. This was such an amazing episode and it was so informative, and we want to make sure that this word is getting out. So please don't forget to share this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to Your Story Does Not Define You, the podcast. And please, let's continue this conversation this month. We're almost at the end of the month of October, but breast cancer awareness doesn't just stop in the month of October. We can have this conversation all the time because we want to make sure that we are educating people and that we are being aware. So for now, y'all, I just want to say stay safe, stay aware, and take care of yourselves and each other. And until we meet again, Dr. Niesha here. Thank you guys so much. Continue to email me, continue to send me your responses, because I love to hear your feedback. And we'll chat again soon. Take care.